If you're about to start a GLP-1, let me stop you right there. You don't need to spend weeks preparing. You don't need to overthink it. Just take the shot. There are some things no one tells you, and you won't find out until you're already in it. You're going to run into surprises, from side effects to foods that suddenly don't sit right to why your goal weight doesn't really matter. These are the top tips I wish I had before I took my first shot. If you're new here, I'm Megan. I've lost 125 pounds using compounded tirzepatide. I started in August 2023, weighing 243 pounds, and I've been maintaining a healthy weight for over a year now. And today I'm weighing in right around 118 pounds. I started this YouTube channel less than 2 months ago, and I'm so happy that the videos that I've been making are connecting with some of you and helping you along your journey. I would love it if you would take a minute to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any new videos. I am taking your suggestions, so go ahead and leave a comment with any video suggestions. And I am making videos as fast as I can so that I can share more about my journey on a GLP-1 and what I've learned along the way. When I started my GLP-1 journey, I knew one person in real life who was taking a GLP-1, and I got some really great tips from this friend. 2 years ago, it was really still on the down low. It wasn't as common as it is today. So I'm so happy that people starting a GLP-1 today have so many resources at their fingertips to learn about what it's like to be on this medicine. And today I just wanted to share a little bit about what I wish I knew before I started a GLP-1 and what would have helped me along on my journey, so that I can help some of you who are getting ready to start your journeys today. First of all, if you're about to start a GLP-1, the very first step is just go ahead and take that shot right now. Like, pause this video, go get it out of the fridge and take it. If you've been thinking about it and waiting for the perfect time to start, the perfect time to start is now. You don't have to wait until a certain day of the week. You don't have to wait until a certain time of the month. Like, just go and take that shot. The truth is, there is never going to be a perfect time to take the shot. There's always something happening. There's a vacation coming up. You have a holiday weekend, somebody's birthday. You have a night out planned with friends. There's always going to be something. So the very best time to take that shot is now. That leads me into my second tip, which is, yes, you're going to have some side effects, but you'll learn to manage those as they come. You don't need to learn how to manage all the side effects before you take the shot, because you might not even have those side effects. There are certain side effects that are more common, like constipation or a little bit of nausea, but not everybody gets those things. The friend who I knew in real life who told me about GLP-1s, she told me she felt like she had the flu the first week. That did not happen to me, and I'm so thankful for that. I had different side effects. So there's no real way to know until you just go ahead and take that shot and see what happens to your body. All of our bodies are going to react differently, and each of us is going to have different side effects. And even the ways to manage those side effects are going to be a little bit different from person to person. We can take the advice from other people, but what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for you. So postponing taking your shot until you learn about all these side effects is of no benefit for you, because you have to just get in there and deal with it. And I promise you'll learn what works for you. Some of the common side effects that I had were a little bit of nausea and eating a few mini saltines. Salt, that problem for me. Just making sure I had a little bit of something in my stomach, that salt crunch. It just helped me out. And if I felt any nausea, I can nibble on those. I also found that if I ate certain foods, I was more prone to nausea. So if I ate fried foods or super fatty foods or super rich sweet foods. One time I ate a little bit of cheesecake and that did not sit well with me at all, and I had nausea. My friend Gina from Anchor Moments has a great term for what happens to you when you eat a food that doesn't agree with you on a GLP-1. She calls it a spanking. So sometimes you can catch the signs of that happening before you get to a full-blown spanking. And I have found that Tums work really well for me. So if I eat something that maybe just doesn't quite agree with my body, I will pop a couple of Tums. And I honestly only have to do that maybe once or twice a month because I eat pretty clean and I choose to eat a mostly whole food diet with a focus on protein and fiber. But if you are going out or to a birthday party or it's a holiday weekend or something like that, you might be eating foods that you're just not used to, and you might get signs of a spanking coming on. So having some tools to prevent that from happening is really good. So I like to use Tums. Other people like things like Pepcid or Pepto-Bismol. I have a weird reaction. One time we were at Disneyland for my 40th birthday, and we went out for a birthday dinner and ate too much rich food, and I had a spanking coming on. So we went into the gift shop and I found some Pepto-Bismol and I took it, and it helped, thankfully. But the very next morning I woke up and I had a black tongue. I did not know this could happen, but I was brushing my teeth and I was spitting black. Of course, I freaked out. Thankfully, Google told me that that's a reaction that some people have to the medicine in Pepto-Bismol, that you get a black tongue. So I don't take Pepto-Bismol anymore because I don't want to walk around with a black tongue that takes days to go away, but the Tums works for me. So if you end up with nausea or signs of a spanking coming on, you'll have to figure out what medicines work for you. But really, the very best thing is to just eat in a way that agrees with your body. Another common side effect is constipation. I honestly had very little constipation. Some people deal with this the entire time they're on a GLP-1. I think sometimes those people have dealt with constipation in their life anyway. I have never dealt with constipation, so I've only had it a few times. I choose to use Oxy powder. It is a magnesium supplement and it works like a charm for me. The bottle says take 4 pills, and I beg you not to take 4 pills if you are going to take Oxy powder for your constipation. You will poop your pants. So go ahead and start with like 2 pills. If that doesn't work, the next day you take these before bed with a full glass of water. It works overnight. You don't wake up with like a rumbling stomach or anything. You just wake up and you're like, I have to go. If you take 4 pills, you will have an emergency. So start with 2, see how your body reacts. Go ahead and take 3 the next day if you still haven't had success. And I have only had to take these a handful of times during my journey because it's just not a problem that I struggle with. Some of the other things that I've dealt with are headaches or fatigue, and I've just managed those like I manage any symptoms that I don't know where they come from. If I have a headache, I'll take some Advil. I will rest. I'll put a cold pack on my head. If I have fatigue, I take a nap. I drink some extra caffeine. I just deal with those symptoms as they come up. And honestly, there's no real way to know if those are symptoms of the medication or if they're symptoms of being a sleep-deprived mom who's really busy and just sometimes gets a headache or sometimes is feeling fatigue. I do think some weeks I had fatigue like crazy, where I felt like almost like when I was pregnant and in my first trimester, and there's just like this bone crushing fatigue where you cannot sleep enough and you just cannot get up. Like there's no amount of willpower that is going to get me off the couch. I did have that for a couple of weeks and I just dealt with it. Other side effects will just be completely random. I had a few weeks where I had joint pain. I had one rough stretch where I had restless leg symptoms happening. That was the worst because I could not sleep. Again, I just figured out how to deal with each symptom, one symptom at a time. And I didn't have to think about all of that beforehand. I just dealt with it as it came up. I did not have symptoms consistently every single week when I took a shot. I would have a symptom for a week or 2. Then I would have a different symptom for a week or 2. Then I get something new. So being on a GLP-1 is a constant experiment and adventure, and it's just something you can't plan for. On to tip number 3. So you will learn pretty quickly which foods agree with you and which foods don't. When you're going on a GLP-1, you do not need to prepare to change your entire diet and change everything about the way that you eat the day you're starting your shot. Being on a GLP-1 is not like any other weight loss diet that you've tried. I remember I've done things like Whole30. When I did Whole30, I spent a good 2 or 3 weeks prepping ahead of time because I had to buy all the right ingredients. I had to make sure I had the recipes lined up. I did a meal plan. I had to get rid of stuff in my house so that I wasn't tempted while I was doing Whole30. But being on a GLP-1 is not like that. You can eat how you normally eat, and the shot is going to help you make better decisions. It's going to help you eat less of what you like to eat. It's going to be working in the background of your brain to help you figure out what are the foods that are the best for your body. When you eat those foods, if it starts to make you feel sick, you'll quickly learn that's not a food that I want to be eating. Sometimes people have told me they feel really full with certain foods, like maybe you're eating broccoli and you just feel like it's kind of stuck in this area. And maybe that's not something that you want to eat. Instead of broccoli, maybe you switch to something more like green beans if you're looking looking for a quick, easy vegetable that you can grab from the freezer. I know for me, I had a lot of changes in my taste buds where I was a carb addict before. And once I started on a GLP-1, I did not like bread items. No bread for sandwiches. I didn't like bread, like breakfast breads for pastries. And I loved donuts so much. And for a while, like donuts and pastries and croissants, none of that looked good to me. I would look at it and think, oh, I should like that, but it looked kind of gross to me. So I just didn't eat it. So anytime there was bread involved, I would take the bread off of a sandwich, have a burger without the bun. Not because I was trying to be carb conscious or anything. I just didn't want the bread. Once you're on the medication, your brain is going to help you out and tell you what kinds of things your body wants to be eating. The key is just listening to your body. Be really in tune with what your body is telling you. One great way to do that is by keeping a food journal, tracking what you eat, writing down what you're eating and how you feel afterward, and you'll start to notice some patterns that can help you make decisions when you're planning out what you're going to eat. Moving on to number 4. So your body's going to help tell you what it doesn't want to eat, and your brain can tell you what you should be eating. When I started on a GLP-1, I had the worst diet. I was a fast food addict. I ate out 5 to 7 times a week, sometimes multiple times a day. And once I started on a GLP-1, I knew that eating at home was going to be the very best choice for me to get wholesome, nutritious food that fueled my body in the way that I needed to fuel it so that I could lose weight, gain muscle, and be as strong and healthy as possible. So I made a choice to focus on eating protein and fiber because when you're on a GLP-1, you cannot eat much. In the very beginning, you are eating a small quantity of food. Now, I do want to say that that doesn't last forever. As your body gets used to the medicine and you go on, you can eat more, but the mechanism that works in your brain is still in the background helping you make good decisions. Now, I'm over 2 years into my GLP-1 journey, and I would say I can eat pretty normal meals. But it was not that way in the beginning. In the beginning, I ate very small meals. I didn't have a big appetite. I have a rule for myself that I don't eat when I'm not hungry. So whenever I felt hungry, I made sure that I was focusing on eating protein and fiber. So what that meant is I was eating lots of lean protein like chicken breast, tuna, salmon, or I was eating artificial protein like protein shakes because I needed to get protein in my body. And then I focused on getting fiber. And since I wasn't really into eating bread products, I did a lot of berries, fresh leafy greens, just fresh fruits and vegetables that helped fill me up and taste good and add some excitement to my life. So I just wasn't eating protein shakes constantly. Having some raspberries and Greek yogurt was delicious. Having blueberries and a protein cereal or something like that. Just making sure that I was adding fiber into my diet, which again helps with some of those side effects that you might get. And it was a really good way to add variety to my plate when I was still only able to eat a small amount. Tip number 5 would be to incorporate movement as soon as you are able. I started at 243 pounds. It was really hard for me to even just get through the day. I couldn't think about adding extra exercise. I was doing this not just to lose weight, but to get healthy. So I knew that movement was going to be a part of my journey. So I did what I could. I started by just walking around my block, which is half a mile. It took me over 20 minutes to do it. And I just started by doing that every day. You'll have to figure out what is a stretch goal for you and what are you able to do. And I share that because I want you to be inspired and know that even while it seems impossible now, it is possible for all of us to figure out what we can do. And maybe walking isn't in your future right now. Maybe you just can't imagine that, but you can sit in a chair and use soup cans to lift weights. You can get some exercise bands and start stretching exercise bands. There are lots of things. And thank goodness we have YouTube, we have ChatGPT to figure out different ways for each of us to incorporate movement into our day in a way that works for us. We incorporate movement not to lose weight. I've made a whole video and why I don't think exercise is a good tool for losing weight. When we're losing weight, being on a GLP-1 and moderating the food intake that is going into your mouth is your number one lever that you can pull for affecting your weight. That's what you need to focus on. We focus on movement because we're also focused on health. We're building a stronger body. When you're losing a lot of weight, there is a potential for losing muscle. I am happy to say, while I was losing 125 pounds, I was able to gain a lot of muscle. And that is due in large part to eating enough protein and lifting weights as soon as I was able. So in addition to walking, I started lifting weights. I started with just 3 times a week. I was never somebody who went to the gym or knew anything about exercise. I started using my Tomo Home Gym because I wanted to be able to work out at home and do it in my pajamas. I started with just 3 days a week and 20-minute workouts. So once I had lost about 100 pounds, I really amped up my fitness and focused on strength training, where I was strength training 4 to 6 days a week. And you don't have to get that crazy, but for me, that was the key to really transforming my body into the look that I wanted it to have, which was a fit, muscular, lean look. Tip number 6 is to take pictures. If you're like me, you started a life-changing plan many, many times before, but on a GLP-1, this is hopefully going to work for you. This will be the time that it works and that it sticks. So go ahead. Take a before picture. It's going to feel awkward, and take a full length picture. If you have a full length mirror, take it in a full length mirror, or set your phone up somewhere and flip the camera around and just take yourself a picture. For me, when I was losing weight, it was so hard to see how far I'd come on a day-to-day basis. I would look in the mirror and I would feel exactly the same. And that can be kind of defeating when you're paying a lot of money for these medications, you're putting in all this work, you're eating the right foods, and you're doing the movement that you want to do so that you're healthy, and you're not really seeing the progress. For me, the way that I saw the progress was by looking at pictures side by side. When I could look at my side-by-side pictures, I would say, oh my gosh, like look at the difference. I could see the difference in my stomach. I could see the difference in my thighs. It just helped bring the full picture to life that I was making progress every single day, even though I couldn't see it. Once I did that side by side, it was so much motivation to keep going. And that also leads to tip number 7, that you need to have some non-scale metrics for your success. So things like taking measurements, go ahead and take those measurements. I remember I took measurements and I had a 42-inch waist. It started shrinking immediately. My waist was shrinking. My arms started shrinking immediately. They had gotten so big. That was just one of the first things to go. So seeing the change in the measurements is huge. Again, it's just that motivation that you need to see that even if the scale isn't going down as much as you think it should, that you are making progress along the way. When I look back and see that I started at that 40-inch waist and now I have a 26-inch waist, that just shows me how far I've come. Other things you can do are things like getting your blood work done. Get your blood work and see where you are as your starting point. Don't be afraid of getting blood work. I know I avoided the doctor and avoided getting blood work for so many years, but have a starting point. You can repeat your blood work in 6 months and it will be an amazing change. Another thing that I did was I got DEXA scan. So I was able to get a scan of my body and see where my muscle was, where my fat was, what my visceral fat looks like around my stomach, and then do that along the way while I was making progress and see the huge changes I was making in my body. And those are the kinds of changes that are more important than weight loss. Yeah, weight loss is going to make us look better and feel better, but reducing our visceral fat or building our muscle, those are the things that are going to help us live longer and be healthier while we're living longer. And that really was the goal for me. So I love that I had all of that data to go into the full picture of how much progress I was making along the way. And that leads into tip number 8, that you should have a doctor or a medical professional that you can talk to on your GLP-1 journey about some of these things that we're talking about today. Now, I know a lot of us get compounded medications from telehealth companies, and I have used several of them, and I will say that not all telehealth companies are created equal. I know the company that I currently get my medication from, I have never talked to a doctor. They prescribe it to me. I only had to fill out a form and they send it to me. If I had a question, I'm sure they would answer it, but I have no relationship with any medical professional. Now I am comfortable with that because I've been on this medication for 2 years. When I started out, I worked with a local nurse practitioner at a med spa. They prescribed it for me. I had to do a phone consultation every 4 weeks. They would ask me about my side effects. How's it going? They looked at my blood work, things like that. And I think that that is a really good thing to have somebody who you can talk to about questions you have that are very specific to your body and your unique situation. I also have a primary care doctor, and I made sure to tell them up front, hey, I'm taking a GLP-1. I got it from this med spa, and I want you to do my blood work so that I can track how I'm doing along the way. They were completely happy to do that. They did not prescribe compounded medications, and my insurance doesn't cover the name brand, so I couldn't get it through them. So they were happy to follow me and track my progress, even though I wasn't getting the medication from them. Eventually, they started offering compounded medications, and I did get it through them. And then I was able to go in for appointments and get seen by a nurse. But having an actual medical professional available to you is so important. And my last tip that I wish I knew is that goal weights are really kind of useless. And I don't want you to not take your shot until you figure out your goal weight, because it really is irrelevant. Instead of having a goal weight, I have learned that it is so much better to have a goal life. I like to think about all the things that are going into the life that I want to have. So at the very beginning, I was 243 pounds. I was exhausted. Every bone in my body ached and hurt. I took a 2-hour nap every day, and I was so tired from carrying around all this extra weight. The life that I wanted to live was so completely different than the life that I had, and it seemed so far away. So when I thought about what success looked like, and I thought, okay, success would be being around 160 pounds for me. That was the comfortable weight that I could maintain for most of my adult life, even after having children. So I thought, well, that would be great. Once I got to that point, and I saw what was possible with a GLP-1, I knew that I could go ahead and do more. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin yet. I felt so much healthier and better, but I wanted to keep going. I didn't have to do more. It wasn't like I was taking more medication or exercising more or eating less. I just had to continue doing the things that I was doing. I had to wake up every day and know, okay, these are the things I do. I go for a walk in the morning. I went around the block. I drink my water. I eat my protein. I get in fiber. I manage my symptoms and my side effects of being on this medication. I just continued to do those things every single day. And that was my life. That was my goal life. I wanted to be healthy and strong and fit. This isn't like a diet like when I did Whole30 and I just had to make it through those 30 days and then I could go back to eating the way I used to. This is a lifestyle. It truly is the way I want to live my life for the rest of my life. So what my body does with that is kind of not up to me. I just go on about my business, eating the way I do and living the way I live, and my body's going to go where it wants to. So for me, while I started out with that goal weight of 160, then I got to like 145 pounds, which is a healthy weight for my height. I'm 5'4", and I started decreasing my dose because I thought I'm at a healthy weight. I was super comfortable in my skin at that point. So I started decreasing my dose, stretching it out so that I wasn't taking as much of the medication. And I did amp up my exercise at that point because that was right when I decided that I wanted to kind of change the look of my body with weight training. So I started amping up the exercise, and instead of maintaining my weight, my body just kept losing weight. I kept going down in weight, and it doesn't keep on going forever. You're not going to waste away. Most people I've talked to who have been on these medications for a long time and who have reached a maintenance weight, the body just kind of reaches this equilibrium where it works out with what you're eating and how you're moving results in a weight that is right for your body. So for me, that's right around 118 pounds. Sometimes it goes up a little. I've gone up as high as like 126 pounds. Then I'll go down. I've been as low as like 112 pounds. But for the most part, my body is really maintaining at 118 pounds easily with no extra effort. And again, I'm not eating super small amounts anymore. I've been on this medication for over 2 years now, so I'm eating pretty normally. I eat anywhere from 1,300 to 2,100 calories in a day, depending on how hungry I am or what kind of activity I have going on. And I think that's pretty normal. So if you are getting ready to start this journey, I'm so excited for you. And I hope that these tips were helpful for you so that you can jump in knowing that nothing is going to be so hard that you can't figure it out once you're already in it. So you just take that shot and then you will figure all these things out along the way. And I want to encourage you to have fun on this journey. I've done a a lot of diets in my days, and nothing has been like this, where it's not like pulling teeth and white knuckling it through the days. Being on a GLP-1 gives your brain the space to just live your life. Everyone's GLP-1 journey will look a little bit different, but hopefully the tips I share today can help you start strong and know that you can figure anything out along the way. And remember, this isn't just about losing pounds. It's about gaining freedom and doing those small things daily that lead you to a life you love. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love if you have been on a GLP-1 journey, if you would share one of your best tips in the comments. If you're just getting started and have questions, be sure to leave a comment and ask your question. I might use it as inspiration for a future video. Thanks so much for watching.